Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Charlie Hamer. I'm one of the co-founders of Public Sector Network. And for those of you who don't know us, Public Sector Network is a global community platform that's been around for almost 10 years, operating across Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the US, and the UK. Our mission is to better connect government, industry, and academia to facilitate the sharing of ideas, best practices, networking, and benchmarking. Ultimately, our goal is to drive improvements in government services and achieve better outcomes for communities. We achieve this through a variety of different avenues, events being one of our key offerings, ranging from intimate gatherings up to large-scale conferences of several thousand attendees. In addition to the events, we have our academy, which delivers both public courses and custom, as well as in-house training. And in our research and advisory division, conducting regular research into different topics across the public sector, across the globe. All of these elements are then brought together via our online community platform, creating a cohesive space for continuous learning and engagement. So on to today's session, we've got two topics we're going to be talking about today. And so in the public sector, creating seamless and efficient services for citizens is critical. Two essential tools in achieving this is customer journey mapping, sometimes referred to as CJM, and service blueprinting. So customer journey mapping focuses on understanding the citizen's experience, ensuring that the services meet the needs and expectations. Meanwhile, service blueprinting maps out the internal processes behind service delivery, providing a comprehensive understanding of how services can be structured and improved. And so today we're fortunate to have Pete Saunders, who will share his expertise on both CJM and service blueprinting, and how these tools can significantly enhance public service, sector service delivery as well. So thank you, Pete. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure. Good to speak with you, Charlie.
So we'll jump straight into it. So Pete, let's start by discussing the relevance of these tools. Why is customer journey mapping particularly important for public sector professionals today?
So customer journey mapping is critical to understand your users. And that the word users could be patients, customers, citizens, internal, external, or a mix, but it's understanding them as well as their surrounding context. So usually people might think of a journey map as those interactions between the persons and the organization, but I've developed a different view over years of practice, which is the journey map actually articulates their lives beyond your four walls and then determines where and why a service should actually be designed. And so I would look at journey mapping more as a precursor to service blueprinting, because without doing it, you're then kind of creating a service based on what you think, not what the user would actually need.
Yeah, great. And then moving on to service blueprinting, how does this tool, as you just mentioned, that build on customer journey mapping to provide deeper insights into service delivery?
So, and you touched on it there. So you would take the moments in time when you would be engaging with the customer, and then you can use service blueprinting as a visual tool that helps map, analyze, and design services in a really structured and comprehensive way. So it's this kind of clear representation of their experience, along with the processes, the touch points, the people, the technology, all those things that actually enable that service. And so you get this really granular view of what a service looks like, and you can measure all the key timelines, the key outputs, and all those important things to look after to make sure that you can always make kind of incremental improvements around your service. And it's not just a set and forget thing. It's always on, and it's always evolving as humans evolve as well.
Great, thank you. So you've worked with many professionals in these areas. What are some of your top tips or best practices for developing effective customer journey maps?
So for journey maps, I think preparation is key, and particularly to avoid doing journey maps for the sake of it. They can sometimes be, you know, a thing to do because it's an in trend kind of term, but actually journey maps are really critical. If you can determine, what's the purpose of it going to be, you need to make sure that it meets a specific goal and objective. It's aligned with your organizational priorities. You need to be clear on who's going to be involved in the process. So in the course, we talk a lot about how to identify key stakeholders, how to engage with them, how to keep them updated, what data is going to be used to create the journey maps, the sources, the types of data, to make sure they're not opinion based, they're fact driven. And then, of course, what are the outcomes of the mapping process going to be? What does good look like? What do you want to happen as a result of undertaking this work? And that kind of leads to, well, what happens once it's been completed? So stepping all those things out and being really clear up front kind of avoids disappointment, but also sets realistic expectations of what you can achieve with this as a tool. And there are many tools that you would need to deploy really citizen-centric services.
Great, thanks, Pete. And for service blueprinting, what are some of your best tips for simplifying complex processes and making blueprints actionable?
Well, I think it's that as well. Like blueprints can
Hmm.
become really complex really quickly. There's such a level of detail that you can get to. You need to be unafraid to kind of carve out what an MVP looks like, what the V1, what the V2 looks like, and sort of mark up where improvements can be made. But by undertaking the blueprinting process, be really open in informing and engaging stakeholders. So
Hmm.
you, as that practitioner, might do some of the heavy lifting and map out where you think processes may or may not exist, even if you don't have the detail. But then you can go to a stakeholder and ask for them to sort of help fill in some of the and color in sort of some of that detail, or adjust, or whatever it is. And then you have this really collaborative approach that can be also used for innovation. And
Hmm.
so you can identify where improvements could be made, where the shared understanding of the service leads to a slightly new way of thinking or doing things. But again, be really clear on keeping track of all your insights. So you're not just sort of coming up with an idea over here and over there. You're really structured in saying, well, what are the actions and outcomes that we're going to create as a result of this process and as a result of these improvements? And so you can kind of paint this picture of how research and data is leading to an outcome, because
Hmm.
that's again a really good way of showing that service blueprinting leads to incremental improvements and leads to ever evolving ways of delivering these services. And one thing I mentioned in our course is it kind of like thinking yourself as though you're a curator and a conductor.
Hmm.
Like your job is to bring all of these people together into this room to kind of create something harmonious.
Great. You've already touched on a few of the key things there within the courses, but if there's what can participants expect to learn really from the customer journey mapping and service blueprinting courses, and how will those skills help them apply this knowledge in their work?
So we split it out into two. We found in the past trying to do it all in one didn't allow you to get into the weeds and into the
Hmm.
detail of the tools and so on. So the first one would be the journey mapping. So understanding the benefits, understanding all the challenges, understanding what customer personas are and demographics are, and then actually putting some journey mapping into practice. So we undertake two key activities: build a customer persona and then develop a customer journey map. And we do bring in an introduction to the service blueprint, but just to kind of show how it then what happens next. And
Hmm.
then in that full day course around blueprinting, we again will explore and expand on blueprinting in the public sector. We talk about the challenges of the process and where it works, understanding actions versus people, process, technology, and again the key components. And we'll spend time building a blueprint in a whole new context with existing information, and then blueprints in a familiar context but with no existing information. So you kind of get different ways of solving the problem. So it's super interactive, super engaging, lots of group activities. At the end of it, you get all the artifacts, all the frameworks, all the
Hmm.
examples. So it's really designed to allow you to feel, I think, hopefully engaged and compelled to make that start and do the next thing and sort of start to implement these sorts of tools in your own practice, but have that open forum where you can share amongst your peers, challenges and what's worked and what's not, because
Hmm.
that peer learning is as important as just the activities.
I couldn't agree more. That's the sort of our value proposition as an organization, that encouraging that peer learning and that sharing of that best practice amongst participants or attendees, whatever format there may be. You've done such a good job, Pete. You've already answered the second question. So I think that might wrap things up. So thank you, Pete, for sharing those valuable insights. And for those interested in enrolling in either of the courses, be sure to visit the registration link in the comments provided below. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we hope to see you the next time.